The Marrakesh Treaty facilitates the access to published works for persons who are blind, visually impaired or otherwise brain disabled, and provides an international legal framework to allow the creation, distribution, and cross-border exchange of works in accessible formats such as Braille, audio, e-book, and large print. My name's Đào Thu Hương. I'm a disability rights officer at UNDP Vietnam, and I'm blind. I couldn't have completed my higher education and pursued my dream career at UNDP as I do now if the door to knowledge wasn't open to me through accessible learning materials such as Braille books. However, there are significant barriers before blind persons can access knowledge. In many countries in the ASEAN region, people with visual impairments and brain disabilities face similar challenges in accessing information and knowledge. Now, let's listen to In Sof, who works at the Voice of Persons with Disabilities radio program in Cambodia.
I became a person with a disability when I was 10 years old, as I completely lost my sight. I cannot read Braille, but I am now learning it. I could not finish elementary school because there were no accessible textbooks or trained teachers for students who are low vision or blind like myself. After I heard about the Marrakesh Treaty, I feel very happy because the Marrakesh Treaty covers accessible format for people who are low vision or blind like myself.
Now let's hear from Hương Thị Bích Hằng, who is a blind university student in Vietnam.
There is a serious shortage of learning materials. All my learning materials are hard copy, scanned images, or PDF files, which are inaccessible for me. I had to request volunteers to type printed book into Word files or record audio for me. I usually have to wait at least half of my semester to get accessible materials. The delay results in lower test results because I have a much shorter preparation time than my classmates. Can you imagine going to classroom with no material in hand at all? I feel excluded and left behind.
These situations are often referred to as a book famine. The World Blind Union estimates that less than 1% of all published books in developing countries are available in accessible formats. It results in reduced opportunities in education, health, employment, and cultural participation, leading to the exclusion and poverty for people with brain disabilities. To end the book famine, world leaders adopted the Marrakesh Treaty. A growing number of countries are joining the Marrakesh Treaty, including the US, EU, Japan, Indonesia, and Thailand. India was the first country to ratify the Marrakesh Treaty. Here's a statement from Dipendra Manocha, the director of India Daisy Consortium, about how the Marrakesh Treaties benefited people with brain disabilities in India.
Before India ratified Marrakesh Treaty, each user with brain disability would get access to books only from one library of which they were the member. But now they get access to all titles produced by all organizations, not only from India, but all across the world. As a result, now a user has access to almost 5 million books that can be read with eyes, ears, or fingers against just 200-300 books that were available to him or her before the ratification of the Marrakesh Treaty. The Marrakesh Treaty is a real game changer for realizing the rights of persons with brain disabilities.
Since 2015, UNDP has been supporting country efforts to ratify and implement the Marrakesh Treaty, as part of its long-standing commitment to advancing disability-inclusive sustainable development and reducing inequality. UNDP supported the successful ratification in Thailand and Indonesia and is currently working with partners in Vietnam and Cambodia for them to follow suit. Here's a statement from Caitlin Wilson, UNDP resident representative in Vietnam.
The fact that the poverty rate of Vietnam Blind Association members is 3 times as high as the national rate epitomizes their marginalization. They are also among those most affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. By acceding to and implementing the Marrakesh Treaty, Vietnam will move into a fast-track lane towards inclusive and sustainable development. Here, UNDP Vietnam will continue to support legal reforms and the capacity building of the government and disability community to seize this historic opportunity for Vietnam's brighter future.
Next is Nick Beresford, UNDP resident representative in Cambodia.
This pandemic threatens to roll back many of Cambodia's development gains, and so it's even more important that we reach out to the most marginalized communities. The Marrakesh Treaty, to which Cambodia is a signatory, is designed to protect people with print disabilities access published works in formats that they can use. So this can make all the difference in terms of access to information, to access to education, finding a job, and participating in the community. With nearly 4% of the population here in Cambodia facing some form of print disability, this is an opportunity to empower those communities to ensure that we protect their rights and that they participate in Cambodia's development progress.
As a state party of the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, the governments of Vietnam and Cambodia are obliged and committed to create a disability-inclusive social environment, including improved access to knowledge and information, which the Marrakesh Treaty aims to achieve. Here's a statement from His Excellency Mr. M. Chan Makara, Secretary General of the Disability Action Council in Cambodia.
In Cambodia, blind and visually impaired person represents 35% of the population with disability, and non-communicable diseases such as diabetes that can cause blindness are growing. The Marrakesh Treaty is particularly important for Cambodia. Cambodia has made significant achievement in pursuit of disability-inclusive society since the country ratified the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability in 2012. The Disability Action Council have been working together with UNDP and disability community to prepare the country ratification of the Marrakesh Treaties. We are establishing a multi-sectoral working group to move forward. The good thing is that the Marrakesh Treaty has been included in the revised National Disability Law.
Let's hear from His Excellency Mr. Lê Hồng Phong, Director General of the Copyright Office, Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism of Vietnam.
First of all, I highly appreciate UNDP's support for nations to join the Marrakesh Treaty. The government of Vietnam has delegated the Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism to compile the proposal on the Marrakesh accession, as well as give recommendations on amending some articles in Vietnam's intellectual property law. During the process of revising the law, our ministry has proposed the contents aligning with the Marrakesh to facilitate the accession and implementation of the treaty. In the future, we hope that UNDP will continue supporting research and communication to raise awareness of the Marrakesh for stakeholders.
The COVID-19 pandemics highlighted the importance of access to knowledge and information, particularly among vulnerable populations, including people with disabilities. It also sent the world an important message that our societies are only as resilient as the most vulnerable among us. The Marrakesh Treaty provides us with a rights-based tool to realize the SDG principle of leaving no one behind and reaching the furthest behind first.